Ravenswood was the kind of town that wore its calm like a badge of honor. The streets were lined with old oak trees, their branches stretching across the sidewalks, casting a patchwork of shadow and sunlight that moved gently with the wind. The townspeople prided themselves on knowing everyone's name, every secret, or at least that's what they liked to believe. On an ordinary Thursday, nothing seemed amiss, but for Emily Harper, 17, the day would end in a way that would shatter the illusion of safety the town held so dearly. Emily woke up to the soft hum of her alarm and the faint smell of her mother's coffee brewing in the kitchen. She stretched and glanced at the small sticky note taped to her mirror. "Don't forget to check the mailbox before school." She frowned, remembering that a package had arrived for her the previous evening, unmarked and strange. She'd dismissed it as a prank or some misdelivered mail, but the note made her uneasy. There was a slight tension in her chest, a gnawing sense that today might be different. By the time she left for school, Ravenswood was alive with its usual rhythm. Children rode bikes through the neighborhood, and shopkeepers greeted each passerby with warm smiles. Emily waved to Mrs. Turner, the elderly woman who ran the bakery at the corner, and tucked her backpack tightly over her shoulder. She hadn't noticed the man standing across the street, watching her from behind mirrored sunglasses, a shadow falling over his face. He disappeared as quickly as he appeared when she glanced in his direction. School passed uneventfully, or at least on the surface. Emily's friends chatted excitedly about the festival that evening, a celebration of the town's founding that drew everyone together in the town square. Emily laughed along, but there was a flicker of distraction in her eyes. She kept checking her phone, scrolling through messages from an unknown number. The messages were short, cryptic. "Don't trust anyone today. It's closer than you think. Meet me near the old park." Emily tried to shrug them off, telling herself it was just a prank, but the tension in her stomach didn't ease. She couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching her, following her steps, even in the safety of the school corridors. The day continued, but Emily's unease grew. After classes ended, she lingered for a moment outside the school gates, gazing at the old fountain in the courtyard. Its waters sparkled in the afternoon sun, but the reflection of a passing shadow on the pavement made her flinch. She dismissed it, blaming the angle of the light or her imagination, yet deep down she sensed something was off. By evening, the festival had taken over the town square. Stalls lined the streets, filled with colorful trinkets and the smell of roasted corn and candy apples. Music floated through the air, accompanied by laughter and the chatter of townspeople. Emily wandered among the booths with her friends, taking in the sights and sounds, but she kept her phone in her hand, checking it compulsively. Another message had arrived. "Go to the south entrance when the last bell rings. Don't be late." Her friends noticed her distraction and teased her lightly, but Emily forced a smile. She had promised herself she wouldn't let fear ruin the evening. Still, the south entrance of the festival was near a cluster of empty warehouses, long abandoned, and a chill ran down her spine as she imagined what might be waiting there. As night fell, the town square glowed with strings of lights, their reflection dancing across Emily's wide eyes. She lingered by a food stall, trying to shake off her nerves, when she caught a glimpse of the same man from that morning, standing at the edge of the crowd. This time, his face was partially obscured by a hood, and he didn't move. Emily froze, her pulse quickening. She glanced around, but no one else seemed to notice. The man was gone in a blink, vanished among the throng of festival-goers. Emily's friends finally urged her to move on. "Let's get some ice cream," one said, but Emily's mind was elsewhere, thinking of the messages and the shadowy figure. She agreed to join them, but she kept her eyes scanning every corner, every alleyway. Something told her that tonight nothing in Ravenswood would be ordinary. When it was time to leave, Emily said goodbye to her friends and headed home along the usual path. Her house was just a short walk from the square, down a quiet street lined with tightly packed cottages. At first, the walk seemed normal, peaceful, almost comforting. But halfway down the lane, she noticed a package lying on the pavement, one she hadn't seen before. Her heart skipped a beat. It was wrapped in brown paper with no labels, no indication of who came from. She picked it up cautiously, feeling the weight of it in her hands. A sudden movement from the corner of her eye made her spin around. The street was empty. The shadows from the trees stretched unnaturally long under the lamplights, and the wind whispered through the branches like hushed voices. She shivered, trying to convince herself it was nothing, yet the unease only deepened. She tucked the package under her arm and hurried the rest of the way home. Her parents noticed immediately that something was wrong. "Emily, you look pale," her mother said, stepping out to meet her at the door. Emily forced a laugh, trying to brush off her unease, but the words stuck in her throat. She couldn't explain why she felt like the night was closing in around her. After dinner, Emily went upstairs to her room. She set the package on her desk and stared at it, hesitant to open it. A sense of foreboding gripped her. She had the nagging feeling that whatever was inside could change everything. Just as she reached for the package, a soft beep came from her phone. Another message. "Don't open it yet. Someone is watching." Her breath caught. She looked out the window toward the street, but nothing moved. The shadows seemed heavier now, and the wind carried a faint echo of footsteps, though she was alone. Panic began to rise in her chest. She was trapped between fear and curiosity, knowing she could either ignore the warning or discover the truth. By the time her parents called her for a late-night snack, Emily was gone. The town of Ravenswood would wake the next morning to the news that Emily Harper had vanished without a trace. Her room was untouched, the package remained unopened, and the shadows of the night seemed to linger in every corner. Panic rippled through the community as search parties formed, whispers spread, and Detective Liam Porter arrived to take control of the investigation. By the end of the first day, it was clear. This was no ordinary disappearance. Something deliberate had taken Emily, and Ravenswood's idyllic facade had begun to crumble. The first clue, the mysterious package, hinted at danger yet to come, and the shadowy figure seen twice that day left everyone asking the same haunting question: who could vanish without anyone seeing it coming? The sun rose over Ravenswood, casting long, eerie shadows across the streets where Emily Harper had last been seen. Detective Liam Porter arrived in his worn leather jacket, his expression a mixture of determination and frustration. This was his hometown once, and he had never seen it so shaken. The festival grounds were cordoned off. Search teams moved systematically through streets, alleys, and abandoned lots, and whispers of fear spread through the townspeople like wildfire. Porter began his investigation at Emily's house. Her parents were pale and anxious, wringing their hands as they recounted her last movements. "She was just normal," her mother said, her voice cracking. "She never gave us any reason to worry, and now she's just gone." Porter noted every detail. The package Emily had brought home the night before remained on her desk, unopened. Its brown paper was pristine, but something about its presence seemed sinister. A quick scan of the room revealed nothing else unusual. No signs of struggle, no ransom note, nothing, just Emily's personal items neatly arranged as if nothing had happened. His first interviews were with Emily's friends. They described her as cheerful yet distracted in the days leading up to the disappearance. One of her closest friends, Mia Collins, fidgeted as she spoke. She said someone was watching her. She didn't tell me who. I thought she was joking, but—" Mia trailed off, glancing nervously at her notebook. Porter's instincts told him Mia wasn't telling the full story. "When was the last time you saw her?" he asked. Mia hesitated. "The festival. We split up for a moment, and then she said she had to check on something near the south entrance." Her eyes darted away, as though she feared what might happen if she revealed too much. Meanwhile, Porter reviewed surveillance footage from the festival. There it was, Emily moving through the crowd, smiling and waving to friends, and then a hooded figure appeared in the background, the same shadow that had haunted her path earlier in the day. Porter's heart tightened. The figure lingered just long enough to be noticed, then disappeared into the crowd, leaving Emily alone. He enhanced the footage but could see nothing of the person's face. It was enough, though, to confirm his worst suspicion. Emily hadn't simply wandered off. Porter moved on to the abandoned warehouse district near the south entrance. Rumors had been circulating among teens about strange activity there, and some locals had reported seeing Emily in that area days before her disappearance. Broken windows, graffiti-stained walls, and piles of rusted machinery greeted him, the place exuding neglect and menace. Footprints in the dust suggested recent movement, but Porter couldn't be sure whose they were. Back at the Harper residence, Porter examined the mysterious package more closely. It was lightweight but slightly uneven. Carefully, he opened it and found a small journal and a flash drive. The journal was Emily's handwriting, neat, precise, but tense. The first entries appeared normal, daily musings, school notes, but the later pages told a different story. Emily had been quietly investigating something troubling, something involving someone in town. Names were redacted with ink, and cryptic phrases hinted at danger. "They think I don't see, but I know. I have to be careful, can't tell anyone. If I go missing, they'll blame someone else. I have to leave clues." The flash drive contained encrypted files, photos, messages, and videos, seemingly documenting Emily's discovery of suspicious activity around Ravenswood, meetings at odd hours, whispered threats, and surveillance of certain residents. It was clear that Emily had stumbled on something far bigger than anyone had anticipated. As Porter dug deeper, suspicions arose among the community. Friends who were once trusted began to appear strange. Mia avoided eye contact, and another close classmate, Jason Klein, had a sudden alibi gap during the evening of the disappearance. Porter noted everything. He had learned early in his career that the smallest inconsistencies often concealed the biggest truths. The investigation took a chilling turn when the police discovered a series of anonymous tips. Someone called to claim they had seen Emily near a forgotten alley behind the festival grounds. Another call suggested the abandoned warehouses. Both leads were dead ends, but Porter couldn't ignore them. He suspected someone was deliberately feeding false information, trying to divert attention from the real culprit. By midday, panic began to escalate. Flyers with Emily's face were plastered across the town. Schools, cafes, even telephone poles. Local news stations arrived, broadcasting the story beyond Ravenswood. Yet even as the media frenzy grew, Porter's focus remained on the facts. Emily was missing, and someone in town knew more than they were saying. The breakthrough came late in the afternoon. Porter found a hidden security camera in one of the town's alleyways, overlooked by previous searches. Reviewing the footage revealed something chilling: a figure, masked and deliberate, moving Emily toward a vehicle parked in the shadows. The vehicle left the scene almost immediately. The resolution of the footage was poor, but the implication was clear. Emily had been abducted, and it wasn't random. Porter's mind raced. Who could do this, and why? The clues from the journal hinted at betrayal. Emily had mentioned being wary of someone close, someone she trusted. Could it have been a friend or someone in her family? The more she considered it, the more she realized that the idyllic veneer of Ravenswood masked dangerous secrets. Meanwhile, small incidents in the town began to raise suspicion. A local store owner reported seeing Emily's backpack discarded in a narrow alley, untouched and strangely clean. Neighbors whispered about seeing unknown cars parked late at night, their occupants staring at houses as if checking the residents' routines. Every revelation added tension, both for Porter and the community. By evening, Porter called the Harper family together. He explained that while Emily was missing, he had uncovered evidence suggesting she had been targeted deliberately. He emphasized the importance of cooperation and secrecy, cautioning against public speculation that might endanger her further. Her parents clutched each other, their eyes brimming with tears. "We just want her back," her mother whispered. As night fell, Porter stayed at the station, poring over the journal and the flash drive. The cryptic notes suggested Emily had discovered something that put her in real danger, something she hadn't fully shared with anyone. And lurking in the shadows of Ravenswood was a person willing to stop her at any cost. The day ended with a chilling cliffhanger. A call came in from a neighbor near the outskirts of town. Someone matching Emily's description had been spotted near the abandoned warehouses again. Porter grabbed his flashlight and keys. The streets were empty, except for the sound of wind rustling through the trees. As he approached the warehouses, the door creaked open, revealing a dark figure disappearing into the shadows. The detective's heart pounded. Emily's trail was hot, but danger was closer than ever, and time was running out.
Detective Claire Reynolds felt the weight of every unsolved case pressing down on her as she drove through the quiet streets of Maplewood. The sun had long set, and the streetlights cast long, flickering shadows that seemed to dance with menace. She had pieced together a profile, mapped routines, and even begun identifying the killer's potential patterns, but nothing could prepare her for how cunning he truly was. Every neighborhood she drove past felt different now. Every smiling face, every waving hand could be hiding something deadly. Claire had begun to see the town through new eyes, a place where the ordinary could be deadly, where trust could be weaponized. The killer's audacity was staggering. He hadn't just evaded justice, he had thrived on invisibility. At the precinct, Officer Ramirez set up a small operations hub to monitor the suspect. Cameras had been installed at key locations: the grocery store, the library, the community center, places the killer frequented. Every movement, every casual interaction was recorded and analyzed. But the more they watched, the more they realized that he wasn't just careful, he was meticulous, studying them as much as they studied him. "Look at this," Ramirez said, pointing to a video feed. The suspect had just walked past a neighbor's window, smiling and chatting. But when he noticed the camera lens in the corner of the store, his expression shifted ever so slightly. A flicker of recognition, almost imperceptible, but enough to set Claire's nerves on edge. "He knows," Claire whispered, her eyes narrowing. "He's aware of the surveillance, and he's testing us." The tension escalated when another call came from Mrs. Larkin. Her voice was trembling. "Detective, I heard something in my yard tonight. Footsteps. Someone was near the back door. I think he's here." Claire's stomach tightened. "Stay inside, lock every door, do not leave the house under any circumstances." She hung up, then grabbed her coat and drove to the scene, heart pounding. By the time she arrived, the yard was empty, but the feeling of being watched was undeniable. Claire carefully inspected the perimeter, noting disturbed soil near the garden and a faint imprint of a shoe near the fence. The killer had been there. He had tested his reach, showing her how easily he could penetrate safety. Back at the precinct, Claire laid out the patterns they had observed. The suspect's movements were predictable in routine, but unpredictable in small, strategic deviations. He volunteered at the community center in the morning, visited neighbors in the afternoon, and spent evenings near public spaces, always blending in. Every action reinforced the illusion of normalcy while keeping potential witnesses under control. Claire realized something terrifying. The killer's confidence came from understanding human behavior better than anyone. He knew how people expected him to act, how they trusted him, and he exploited it. Any misstep on her part could be disastrous. Days passed, and the tension in the town became palpable. Rumors began to swirl. Someone had mentioned a stranger who seemed too helpful, a neighbor who knew too much, but no one connected the dots. The killer's charm had infected the town with complacency. He could smile in public, volunteer openly, and still remain untouchable. Then came the breakthrough. Ramirez noticed a pattern in the suspect's visits to local parks. Every Wednesday, he stopped at the same secluded spot for exactly 45 minutes. Using the observation feed, Claire and Ramirez tracked his interactions and discovered something subtle but significant. He often positioned himself near families with children, observing silently, making mental notes. The discovery was chilling. The killer's choice of victims was deliberate, guided by careful observation and strategic opportunity. He didn't need to strike immediately. He cultivated potential targets, studied their routines, and ensured that when he acted, the trail would be nearly impossible to trace. Claire felt a mixture of exhilaration and dread. They were close, so close, but the killer's manipulation extended beyond the victims. He was manipulating her, the investigation, and even the town's perception. The question no longer was if he would strike again, but when and whether she could stop him in time. The first close encounter came unexpectedly. Claire followed the suspect to the community center one evening, parking discreetly across the street. Through binoculars, she watched him greet neighbors, shake hands, and laugh at a child's joke. It was mundane, harmless, but then she noticed a subtle gesture, a finger brushing against the edge of a notebook, a small, deliberate motion, almost like a signal. Her heart raced. Something in that notebook could be evidence, a record of his thoughts, his victims, or his plans. As she moved to enter the building, Claire realized that he had paused mid-step, glanced toward the street, and locked eyes with a camera she hadn't noticed. A shiver ran down her spine. He knew, or at least knew she was watching. The predator wasn't just hiding anymore. He was aware of her scrutiny, calculating her reactions. Claire and Ramirez spent hours reviewing every frame of surveillance footage, dissecting every micro-expression, every slight movement. The killer was clever, always one step ahead, but Claire felt a spark of determination ignite inside her. Her resolve hardened when she received a package at the precinct. Inside was a single photograph of her taken from a distance as she left her apartment that morning. A note accompanied it. "You're getting close. Don't look too hard." Claire stared at it, hand trembling. The killer was not only watching, he was taunting her. The psychological tension skyrocketed. He was confident, patient, and meticulous, but he had also made a mistake. By reaching out, even indirectly, he had revealed that he was aware of her investigation, and now she knew she could fight him, but she had to anticipate every move he made. That night, Claire couldn't sleep. She replayed the day over and over in her mind, analyzing every interaction, every clue, every subtle gesture. The town outside remained quiet, unaware of the danger lurking in plain sight. And somewhere, the killer was out there, confident, watching, smiling. The night air was thick with tension as Detective Liam Porter approached the abandoned warehouse district once more. Weeks of investigation had led him to this point, and every clue, every lie, every shadow had been building toward this night. Emily Harper was still missing, and Porter knew the clock was ticking. One wrong move now could mean she would never be found alive. Porter's flashlight beam cut through the darkness, illuminating broken crates, rusted machinery, and shattered glass. The warehouse felt alive with menace. Shadows danced as the wind howled through the broken windows. He knew the abductors had planned this meticulously, every move calculated, every trail carefully misleading. But Emily had left her own breadcrumbs, subtle clues hidden in her journal and the flash drive, showing she had been clever, brave, and strategic even in the face of danger. Suddenly, the beam of his flashlight fell on a van parked in the far corner, partially concealed behind a stack of crates. Its engine hummed faintly, a chilling reminder that someone was inside or waiting. Porter approached cautiously, checking the surroundings for any traps. His heart pounded with a mix of adrenaline and dread. Whoever orchestrated Emily's disappearance had inside knowledge of the town, knew her routines, and exploited the trust she placed in those closest to her. Then Porter saw him,
Jason Klein, Emily's friend and one of the people she had trusted the most. Jason froze when he realized Porter was there, but not before a flash of panic crossed his face. Porter called out, his voice firm but measured. "Jason, step away from the van and put your hands where I can see them." Jason hesitated, and in that brief moment, Porter noticed the package Emily had received days before, now opened and partially unpacked, lying on the seat of the van. It had been a lure all along, designed to draw Emily into a trap. Porter pieced it together. Emily had followed instructions, been cautious, and left hints, but Jason had intercepted her plan, using the package to control her movements. Porter moved closer, flashlight steady, and Jason finally raised his hands, though his eyes darted nervously to the far end of the warehouse. I didn't mean for it to go this far," Jason stammered. "I just needed to make sure it wouldn't get out." Porter's jaw tightened. Make sure what wouldn't get out? Jason's confession spilled out in fragmented sentences. Emily had stumbled upon something dangerous in Ravenswood, a secret involving a small group of townspeople who had been covering up illegal activities, thefts, minor frauds, and blackmail. Emily had discovered evidence and, unknown to everyone, had been quietly documenting it in her journal and on the flash drive. Jason had been coerced or perhaps tempted to silence her to protect the group. "Where is she?" Porter demanded. Jason hesitated, then Porter led him to a hidden basement beneath the warehouse, a small, dimly lit space where Emily had been kept. She was unharmed, though frightened and exhausted, curled into a corner with her journal beside her. Her eyes widened in relief as Porter entered. "Detective Porter," she whispered, voice trembling. Porter moved quickly, comforting her while keeping his attention on Jason. "It's over now, Emily. You're safe." Emily explained what had happened in those terrifying days, how she had pieced together the movements of those who wanted to hide their secrets, how she had left clues intentionally, and how Jason had intercepted her plan. Despite the fear, she had remained alert, leaving subtle markers and messages, knowing someone like Porter would notice them. Porter radioed for backup, and soon local police officers arrived to secure the scene and take Jason into custody. The investigation quickly expanded to uncover the rest of the group involved in Emily's abduction and the hidden crimes. Each revelation shocked Ravenswood, shattering the perception of the quiet, trusting town. Emily was reunited with her parents, who held her tightly, tears streaming down their faces. Relief and gratitude mingled with lingering fear as they realized the depth of the danger their daughter had faced. Porter stood back, observing the reunion, a quiet sense of satisfaction settling over him. He had unraveled the mystery, exposed the betrayal, and brought Emily back safely. But the story didn't end there. The aftermath left the town forever changed. The townspeople were forced to confront the uncomfortable truth that even in the most peaceful communities, danger can lurk behind familiar faces. Trust had been broken, reputations tarnished, and lives forever altered. Porter reflected on the case, realizing that Emily's courage, intelligence, and quick thinking had made all the difference. Emily, despite the trauma, had shown remarkable resilience. Her journal, now carefully documented by the police, became evidence of both her bravery and the treachery she had uncovered. The townspeople, initially shocked and fearful, began to rally around her, recognizing her strength and determination. Porter met with Emily privately before the press and media descended upon Ravenswood. "You were very clever," he said. "You left clues, stayed alert, and helped me see the truth. That's why you're safe today." Emily nodded, still shaken but proud. "I had to do something. I couldn't just disappear. I had to make sure someone would find the truth if anything happened." Jason Klein, along with the others involved, faced legal consequences. The evidence from Emily's journal and the flash drive ensured that justice would be served. Ravenswood slowly began to heal, though the shadow of betrayal lingered. People became more cautious, more aware that appearances could be deceiving and that vigilance was sometimes necessary, even among friends. As the sun set over Ravenswood for the first time since Emily's disappearance, Detective Porter stood on the edge of the town square, reflecting. The case had tested him, tested Emily, and tested the community. It had revealed the fragility of trust, the courage hidden in the young, and the darkness that can exist even in the most ordinary places. Emily Harper returned to her life, wiser and stronger. She attended school again, but her eyes held a deeper awareness. She had survived a terrifying ordeal and had grown through it, showing the town and the audience that resilience, intelligence, and careful planning could overcome even the darkest of plots. And though Ravenswood would never be the same, there was a sense of cautious optimism. The shadows still existed, but the light had returned, guided by the bravery of a young girl who refused to be silenced and the relentless pursuit of truth by a determined detective.